What would you do if your parents left your sibling at your doorstep without warning, trusting you to care for them, then vanished into the night not once, but 5 times? My name is Ellie, and this is the story of how my life unraveled and rebuilt itself through the weight of unexpected responsibility and the quiet strength of love. It was a humid August evening, the kind where the air clings to your skin like a second shirt. I was 24, scraping by in a one-bedroom apartment, juggling a part-time job at a coffee shop and night classes for my graphic design degree. My life was a delicate balance of deadlines and dreams, with just enough room for microwave dinners and fleeting moments of peace. That peace shattered at 9:47 p.m. when my doorbell rang, sharp and insistent, cutting through the hum of my laptop. I opened the door to find my 16-year-old brother, Caleb, standing on the porch, his eyes fixed on the ground, hands flapping gently at his sides. Caleb is nonverbal, autistic, and the sweetest soul I know. He loves puzzles, the sound of rain, and the color blue. Behind him stood our parents, their faces tight with something I couldn't read: guilt, maybe, or exhaustion. Mom clutched a worn suitcase. Dad's eyes darted to the car idling in the street. "Ellie, we need you to watch Caleb for a couple of days," Mom said, her voice clipped like she was reciting a script. "We'll be back soon." Before I could ask why or where they were going, Dad set the suitcase inside my doorway. "You're good with him. He'll be fine." And with that, they turned, got in the car, and drove off. Caleb didn't look up, but his fingers tightened around the hem of his blue hoodie, a silent signal of his unease. I stood frozen, the weight of the moment sinking in. Caleb wasn't just a quick babysitting gig. He needed structure, patience, and care, things I'd learned growing up but wasn't prepared to provide full-time in my tiny, chaotic life. I knelt beside him, brushing a lock of dark hair from his eyes. "Hey, buddy, we're going to figure this out, okay?" He didn't respond, but he leaned in my shoulder, and that was enough. The first day was a crash course in adaptation. I dug through the suitcase, clothes, a few puzzles, his favorite blue blanket, and a scribbled note with his routine meals, bedtime, calming techniques. No explanation, no phone number, no return date. I called Mom's cell, straight to voicemail. Dad's too. Panic clawed at my chest, but Caleb's soft humming grounded me. I couldn't fall apart, not in front of him. We settled into a rhythm. I learned to anticipate his needs, cutting his sandwiches into perfect triangles, playing Rain soundtracks when he got overwhelmed. My boss let me bring him to the coffee shop, where he'd sit in a corner, piecing together puzzles while I poured lattes. My professors were less understanding, and my grades started to slip. But Caleb's small victories, like when he smiled at a new puzzle I drew for him, kept me going. 2 days turned into a week. Then, on the 8th night, the doorbell rang again. My heart leapt, expecting Mom and Dad. Instead, it was just Caleb's suitcase, plopped on the porch with a note. "A few more days. Thanks, Ellie." No car, no parents, just the suitcase, like they'd crept up in the dark to avoid facing me. I stared at the empty street, anger burning through my exhaustion. How could they do this? Not just to me, but to Caleb. The second time hit harder. I was barely holding it together, missing classes, dodging bills, and fending off questions from nosy neighbors. But then came an unexpected twist. Mrs. Delgado, the elderly woman next door, started showing up. She'd bring empanadas, claiming she'd made too many, and sit with Caleb while I studied. She didn't ask questions, just shared stories of her own chaotic family, her eyes twinkling with understanding. "Life throws curveballs, Mija," she said one evening, patting my hand. "You swing anyway." Her presence was a lifeline, a reminder that I wasn't as alone as I felt. Weeks passed. The doorbell rang a third time. Another suitcase, another vague note. By now, I'd stopped expecting answers. I'd also stopped calling. Instead, I focused on Caleb. We built a world together: blue crayons, late-night puzzle marathons, and walks to the park where he'd chase the sound of rustling leaves. I started sketching again, drawing comic strips of our days, turning our struggles into stories where we were heroes. Caleb loved them, tracing the lines with his fingers, his eyes bright with something close to pride. The fourth time the doorbell rang, I was ready. I'd saved up for a cheap tablet, loaded it with apps for Caleb puzzle games, calming visuals. I'd worked out a deal with my boss for more flexible hours. Mrs. Delgado had even taught Caleb to fold napkins into little birds, a task he took to with surprising focus. But the note this time was different. "We're trying, Ellie. We're sorry." Trying what? Sorry for what? The questions gnawed at me, but I pushed them down. Caleb needed me steady. The fifth time, I didn't even flinch when the doorbell rang. I opened it to find the suitcase, but this time, there was a letter, not a note. Mom's handwriting, shaky and smudged. They were in debt, spiraling after Dad lost his job. They'd been chasing quick fixes, shady deals, long drives to nowhere, hoping to claw their way out. They thought leaving Caleb with me was keeping him safe, giving him stability they couldn't. The letter ended with a promise to come back when things were better. I sat on the couch, letter in hand, Caleb asleep against my side. I wanted to be angry, to scream at them for their cowardice. But I also saw their desperation, their shame. They weren't monsters, just people who'd lost their way. And Caleb? He wasn't a burden. He was my brother, my anchor, my reason to keep going. Mrs. Delgado helped me connect with a social worker who got us resources support for Caleb, financial aid for me. I enrolled him in a nearby program for autistic teens, where he thrived, his love for puzzles earning him a small circle of friends. I kept sketching, turning our story into a graphic novel I hope to publish one day. It wasn't easy. Some days I cried in the shower, overwhelmed. But Caleb's quiet trust, his hand in mine, reminded me why I kept swinging. Months later, Mom and Dad showed up. Not at the doorbell, but at the coffee shop, looking worn but sober. They apologized, promised to make things right. I didn't trust them fully, but I let them hug Caleb, let them see the life we'd built. They weren't ready to take him back, and I wasn't ready to let him go. But we talked, and for the first time it felt like a start. Looking back, those 5 doorbell rings broke me down and built me up. They taught me that family isn't just blood, it's the people who show up, like Mrs. Delgado, like Caleb, like the version of myself I didn't know I could be. Love isn't perfect. It's messy, relentless, and sometimes it arrives unannounced, demanding you rise to meet it. For Caleb, for myself, I did. And I'd do it again.